Let's get right into it. Number 10, the call of the void. You're standing somewhere high, a balcony, a cliff edge, the top of a skyscraper. The view is incredible. A gentle breeze is blowing. And then, a tiny, traitorous voice in the back of your skull whispers, "You could just jump." It's not sad, it's not suicidal, it's just a weird, intrusive, and frankly rude suggestion from your own brain. This bizarre urge is so common it has a name, l'appel du vide, or the call of the void. It's that fleeting, horrifying impulse to swerve into oncoming traffic or stick a fork in an electrical socket. You have no intention of doing it, but the thought flashes across your mental movie screen anyway, vivid and uninvited. So, is your brain secretly trying to kill you? Probably not. Psychologists believe this is actually a weird misinterpretation of a safety signal. Your brain's survival systems, deep in the ancient lizardy parts like the amygdala, scream, "Danger! High place! We could die!" This signal is so fast and so powerful that your conscious, logical brain, the part that's supposed to be in charge, gets a little confused. It receives this massive jolt of anxiety and asks, "Whoa, why am I so terrified? Is it because I want to jump?" It's a high-speed feedback loop from hell. Your brain isn't expressing a desire to fall. It's affirming its desire to live, but in the most confusing way possible. It's like your smoke alarm going off, and instead of thinking, "There might be a fire," you think, "Wow, I must really want to start a fire." The call isn't an invitation to the abyss. It's your brain's over-caffeinated security guard screaming so loud you momentarily think he's the intruder. It's not a death wish. It's just your brain's security system having a panic attack and blaming you for it. Number 9, negativity bias. Picture this. You get 10 compliments on a project at work, but your boss points out one tiny typo in the footnotes. What do you fixate on for the next 72 hours? What do you replay in your mind as you stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m.? It's the typo. The 10 compliments might as well have been written in invisible ink. This isn't because you're a masochist. It's because your brain is fundamentally wired to be a downer. This is the negativity bias. Your brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. This isn't a modern design flaw, it's an ancient survival feature. Imagine two of our ancestors, Grog and Thag, walking through the savannah. Grog stops to admire a beautiful flower. Thag, however, notices a rustle in the bushes that could be a saber-toothed tiger. Grog has a nice, pleasant moment. Thag survives. We are the descendants of Thag. Our brains evolved to scan the environment for threats, to remember failures, and to treat negative information as infinitely more important than positive information. That bad thing you did once? Your brain archives it in high definition with surround sound. That nice thing someone said? It gets saved as a blurry, corrupted file that's deleted after a week. This bias is why bad news travels faster than good news, why a single negative review can outweigh 100 positive ones, and why you can't stop thinking about that awkward thing you said at a party 5 years ago. Your brain isn't trying to make you miserable. It's just running on outdated software designed to keep you from being eaten by prehistoric cats. So the next time you find yourself dwelling on the one thing that went wrong, just thank your inner caveman for trying to save you from a saber-toothed spreadsheet. Number 8, the Apocalypse Rehearsal. Why do you voluntarily watch a movie where a city gets leveled by a space lizard, a virus wipes out 99% of the population, or a family gets terrorized in a haunted house? You pay money to sit in a dark room and feel anxious for 2 hours. On paper, it makes no sense. We spend most of our lives trying to avoid catastrophic situations, yet we actively seek them out in our entertainment. This isn't just morbid curiosity. It's a form of mental practice. Psychologists call this threat simulation theory. You're essentially running a disaster drill in the safe, cozy simulator of your own mind. When you watch The Walking Dead, your brain isn't just passively absorbing zombie gore. It's actively, if subconsciously, taking notes. Okay, so don't make a lot of noise. Aim for the head. Never trust the guy who seems a little too prepared. You're learning strategies, evaluating your own potential responses, and experiencing the fear and adrenaline of a life-threatening situation without any actual risk. It's like a flight simulator for societal collapse. You get to test your emotional and cognitive responses to a plane crash without ever leaving the ground. This desire for a safe rehearsal is also why we're drawn to true crime. Listening to a podcast about a serial killer isn't just about the ghoulish details. It's about learning the patterns. You learn what to look for, what not to do, and how to spot red flags. It gives you a sense of preparedness, a feeling that you've armed yourself with knowledge. It's a way to confront the chaos of the world from a safe distance, giving you a comforting, if illusory, sense of control. Basically, you're not a weirdo for wanting to watch the world burn on screen. You're just doing your homework for an apocalypse that will probably never happen. Number 7. Morbid Curiosity. There's a traffic jam on the highway. As you crawl along, you see the reason. A car wreck on the other side. You know you shouldn't look. You know it's macabre. But you can't help yourself. Your head swivels as you pass, trying to absorb every detail. This is morbid curiosity, the rubbernecker's instinct, and it feels a little shameful, but it's a deeply ingrained human trait. We are inexplicably drawn to scenes of death, disaster, and decay. The aha moment here is realizing this isn't about being a ghoul, it's about information gathering. Your brain is a relentless data hoarding machine, and its prime directive is to keep you alive. A car crash, a house fire, or a news report about a shark attack is a massive flashing data point. Your brain sees it and says, "Alert! New threat information available. Must download." By looking at the wreckage, you're subconsciously learning. How bad was the damage? What kind of car was it? What were the road conditions? You're collecting information about a potential threat in order to better avoid it in the future. It's the same reason you can't help but poke at a sore tooth with your tongue. Your brain is trying to assess the damage. This drive is so powerful that it can override our sense of social decorum, or even our own disgust. It's a primal need to understand danger. When you hear about something terrible, your brain's threat detection system lights up and demands more information to update its Ways I Can Die database. It's not that you enjoy the suffering. It's that the informational value of the event is too high for your survival-oriented brain to ignore. So next time you slow down to look, don't feel too bad. You're not a monster. You're just a very, very diligent student of disaster. Number 6. The Catharsis of Control. Ever feel a strange sense of relief or even calm after watching an absolutely terrifying horror movie? Your heart rate returns to normal, the tension drains away, and you're left feeling strangely good. This is catharsis, and it's a huge reason we are drawn to manufactured catastrophe. We get to experience intense, primal emotions like fear and dread in a completely controlled environment. You can scream at the monster on the screen, but you know deep down that it can't get you. The off switch, whether it's pausing the movie, closing the book, or just turning on the lights, is always in your hands. This gives us a profound sense of mastery over our own fear. In real life, anxiety and dread are often free-floating and abstract. You're worried about your job, your health, the economy, things you have very little direct control over. But in a horror movie, the threat is concrete. It's a guy with a knife, or a ghost in the attic. You can see it, you can understand its rules, and most importantly, you know it will be resolved in about 90 minutes. By processing this contained, fictional threat, you get to feel the physiological rush of survival without any of the messy, real-world consequences. It's like an emotional roller coaster. You get strapped in, experience thrilling loops of terror and suspense, and then you get off, safe and sound, with a nice shot of adrenaline and endorphins as a souvenir. This process can make your real-world anxieties seem smaller and more manageable by comparison. After all, what's a looming deadline next to a demonic entity that lives in your closet? It's a psychological pressure release valve, allowing you to vent your pent-up fears onto a fictional target. You're not just watching a scary story, you're taking your anxiety to the gym. Number 5. Main character syndrome. Ever find yourself daydreaming about how you'd handle a zombie apocalypse? You know, mapping out your route to the nearest Costco, mentally inventorying which of your friends have useful skills, and picturing yourself as a grizzled, reluctant hero. A tiny part of you, in a very safe and theoretical way, almost wants it to happen. This isn't because you crave chaos, but because you crave a narrative. In our mundane, everyday lives, it's hard to feel important. A catastrophe, however, instantly casts you as the protagonist in an epic story of survival. This is main character syndrome. Modern life can be profoundly boring and anonymous. You pay bills, you sit in traffic, you answer emails. There's no grand quest or dragon to slay. But a disaster, a hurricane, a blackout, an alien invasion shatters that routine. Suddenly the stakes are real. Your actions matter. The simple act of finding clean water or boarding up a window becomes a heroic feat. The catastrophe provides a clear goal, survive, and a clear villain, the disaster itself, stripping away all the noise of modern life and replacing it with a pure, simple purpose. This fantasy isn't about a desire for suffering. It's about a desire for significance. In your daydream, you're not just a victim. You're competent, resourceful, and brave. You're the one who remembers the survival guide, who rallies the neighbors, who makes the tough calls. A catastrophe is the ultimate crucible, a test that would reveal your true character. It's a fantasy of competence in a world that often makes us feel powerless. So when you find yourself idly planning your post-apocalyptic fortress, you're not wishing for the end of the world. You're just wishing for a story where you get to be the hero. Number 4. Schadenfreude. Let's be honest. There's a tiny, gremlin-like part of your brain that claps with glee when someone you dislike gets what's coming to them. When the arrogant driver who cut you off gets pulled over a mile down the road. When the insufferable influencer posts a tearful video about their beach vacation being ruined by rain. This feeling, taking pleasure in the misfortune of others, is called Schadenfreude. And while it feels petty and a little evil, it's a core part of how our social brains are wired. At its heart, Schadenfreude is about social comparison. We are constantly subconsciously measuring ourselves against others. When someone else stumbles, especially someone we perceive as being higher status, more successful, or just plain annoying, our own relative position improves. It's a little status boost for our ego. If a rival company has a massive product recall, your company looks better by comparison. If a celebrity known for their perfect life gets into a messy public scandal, your own messy life suddenly feels a lot more normal and acceptable. This isn't just about envy, it's also about justice. We feel the strongest sense of Schadenfreude when we believe the person's misfortune is deserved. It's a confirmation of our worldview, a sign that the universe has a sense of cosmic balance after all. The politician caught in a lie, the CEO of a polluting company getting fined. Their downfall feels like a victory for the good guys. It's a small, satisfying dose of order in a chaotic world. So no, you're not a terrible person for smirking when your office nemesis spills coffee all over their white shirt. You're just experiencing a primitive, ego-soothing, justice-affirming neurological event. A very, very petty one. Number 3. Mean World Syndrome. If you watch the 24-hour news, you could be forgiven for thinking that civilization is perpetually 5 minutes away from total collapse. There are reports of crime, war, disaster, and political scandal all day, every day. After a while, this constant fire hose of negativity starts to warp your perception of reality. You start to believe that the world is a much more dangerous, violent, and untrustworthy place than it actually is. This cognitive bias is called Mean World Syndrome. The term was coined by researcher George Gerbner, who studied the effects of heavy television viewing. He found that people who consumed a lot of media, especially violent media and sensationalized news, were more likely to overestimate their own chances of being a victim of crime. Their personal experience might be perfectly safe. They live in a quiet neighborhood, they have a secure job. But their perceived world is a hotbed of danger and treachery, all because that's what they see on screen. Their brain starts to mistake the highlight reel of human misery for the everyday reality. This constant sense of impending doom feeds our craving for catastrophe because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your brain, now convinced the world is a terrible place, actively seeks out information that confirms this belief, thanks to our old friend confirmation bias. This can lead you down a rabbit hole of disaster prepper websites, grim news articles, and conspiracy theories. It's a feedback loop. The media presents a mean world, you start to believe it, and then you seek out more media that reinforces that belief. Your brain isn't craving a real catastrophe, it's just become addicted to the idea of one because the TV told it to be. Number 2. Doomscrolling. It's 1 a.m. You picked up your phone to check the weather for tomorrow. 3 hours later, you emerge from a stupor. Your eyes burning, your thumbs sore, and your soul filled with a fresh cocktail of anxiety and despair. You've just scrolled through an endless feed of bad news, a political scandal, a new climate change report, a humanitarian crisis, and a dozen think pieces on why everything is terrible. This is doom scrolling, the uniquely modern ritual of compulsively consuming negative online content. Doom scrolling is the perfect storm of several psychological biases we've already talked about. It leverages our negativity bias, that primal need to pay attention to threats, but it weaponizes it with the variable reward system of a social media feed. Every refresh of the page is a pull on a slot machine lever. Will the next post be a cute cat video, a small win, or another piece of soul-crushing news, a jolt of threat-based importance? This uncertainty keeps you hooked, creating a dopamine-seeking loop where the reward is often just another hit of cortisol-inducing dread. Your brain is tricked into thinking it's doing something productive. It feels like you're staying informed or bearing witness. You're gathering intelligence on all the saber-toothed tigers out there. But unlike our ancestors who could run from a real tiger, there's no action you can take to resolve the global crises on your screen. You're just mainlining raw, unfiltered threat information with no release valve. It creates a state of perpetual low-grade panic, making you feel both exhausted and hypervigilant. It's a catastrophe you carry in your pocket, one that your brain craves not because it brings pleasure, but because its ancient survival programming has been hijacked by an algorithm designed to keep you staring. Number 1, catastrophizing. Your boss sends you a message that just says, "Can we talk for a minute?" What's your first thought? Is it, "Oh, they probably want to praise my excellent work"? Or is it, "This is it. I'm getting fired. I'll lose my apartment. I'll have to move back in with my parents. I'll die alone, crushed under a pile of my own regrets"? If you lean toward the second option, you are a master of catastrophizing. This is the act of taking one small negative event and spiraling it into the worst-case scenario imaginable. It's your brain's own personal disaster movie director, and it's obsessed with sequels. Catastrophizing is essentially the negativity bias on steroids, mixed with a malfunctioning problem-solving mechanism. Your brain identifies a potential problem, the ambiguous message from your boss, and in its clumsy attempt to prepare you for the worst, it immediately jumps to the absolute most devastating conclusion. It's trying to protect you by making you ready for anything, but it overshoots the runway by about 1,000 miles. Instead of helping you solve the potential problem, it paralyzes you with fear over a fictional, high-stakes disaster that hasn't happened and probably won't. This is arguably the most intimate way our brains crave catastrophe. It's not about the world ending, it's about our world ending. Every minor setback, a weird noise from your car, a headache, an unanswered text, becomes the potential start of an irreversible downward spiral. Your brain is generating a constant stream of internal disaster porn, custom-made to hit all your deepest fears. It does this because, in a strange way, the certainty of a terrible outcome can feel less stressful to your brain than the ambiguity of the unknown. It's your brain's version of a fire drill, except the building is already ash and the fire was just a flickering candle. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.